When they met, Jiun covered her face so that Bile wouldn't recognize her, and Eun-ho quickly gave her back and she tried to leave without anyone recognizing her. In the elevator, Bile felt like she knew Jiun, but she forgot a bit. At that time Eun-ho hiccuped, maybe because he was shocked and panicked. At home, Soo-hyun told him that Bile was crying because Eun-ho didn't pick her up. Then she gave her candy and Bile was happy by the candy. Seeing his messy sofa, Soo-hyun thought Eun-ho was sleeping on the sofa. Hearing that, Eun-ho became nervous and immediately took the blanket on the sofa. Soo-hyun was curious if there was anyone else here yesterday, because there were 2 bowls on the shelf. In the room, Eun-ho was confused. Actually, he wanted to ask how Jiun was, but didn't. Jiun didn't think that the kid was Eun-ho's daughter. No wonder they looked alike. Then Jiun remembered when Eun-ho gave her a stamp. It seemed like she was very happy because Eun-ho gave her attention. Joo-hee is the daughter of Mrs. Cho, comes to her mother's shop. She feels bad seeing her mother's hands full of needle puncture wounds. But according to her mother, this is normal for a tailor and how amazing her mother's skills are. And when her mother wants to talk about the headhunter, suddenly Joo-hee tells her mother to quit her job. She can't bear to see her mother sewing every day in a small, cramped place for a small pay. Because now Joo-hee and her husband are making money, so she asks her mother to stop working hard and close the shop. Every time Joo-hee sees her mother's hands, she feels bad. Then her mother thinks, is it so terrible to see? But Eun-ho once said that her hands are very special, and Jiun also told her not to underestimate the value of the time she spent. The next day Mrs. Cho goes to the office and she wants to meet CEO Kong Jiun. Seeing her, Kwang-hee feels happy and he asks if Mrs. Cho has made a decision, and she said if her help is needed, then she will help and try. Kwang-hee is very happy because she saved him. Jiun eats with Mai. They are very relieved because they found the deluxe line candidate before the deadline. Mai thinks this is all thanks to Eun-ho and Kwang-hee's hard work. Has Jiun praised them? Jiun actually felt that everyone worked hard. Hearing that, Mai thought Jiun shouldn't judge people by her standards. Mai felt sorry for not being able to come to Eun-ho's house, and Jiun thought Eun-ho was good at cooking. Then she asked about the little girl, who often went to the book cafe. Was she Eun-ho's daughter? Mai confirmed it and they divorced before Bile was 2 years old, even though they were a famous couple on campus. They got married after graduation, and they were expected to be happy, but they divorced so quickly. Mai felt that Eun-ho raised Bile with determination. He dedicated himself to Bile. Bile used to be sickly, so he let go of everything, including his career. He took a leave of absence to stay with Bile. Because of that, his office colleagues didn't like him. Eun-ho is a great father and a good father. CEO Jin met Jiun and he felt offended when he received the document. He wanted to hire people with impressive backgrounds, not real competence. Jiun felt that he thought like that because he hadn't seen anything, and Jiun invited him to test Mrs. Cho. Because Jiun doesn't recommend candidates without confidence. Then CEO Jin's staff came and showed an article containing a luxury bag, sold at Deluxe Line, suspected of being fake. The bag purchased from Deluxe Line was assessed by luxury seller. They are a rival company that stole their previous candidate. That made them panic and Mrs. Cho was confused about what happened. Then Eun-ho checked the article and showed it to Mrs. Cho and she thought that the bag that looked real, but she had to see it herself to be more sure. Then they invited Mrs. Cho to check the bag and Mrs. Cho started checking it. She checked it carefully. At first she wore gloves and then she took them off so she could feel the leather of the bag. After finishing checking, Mrs. Cho concluded that the bag was authentic. The number of stitches, angle, direction, thickness, and spacing were even and accurate. The back stitches that were lined up were different from the curved back stitches were also accurate. Although it could be imitated, however, it was impossible to imitate the leather coating, because each brand had its own standards in leather coating. And they could tell the difference in the coating when they touched the bag. Although Mrs. Cho didn't know the exact size, she recognized it with her fingertips. CEO Jin hesitated. Could he trust Mrs. Cho's words and take the risk? Jiun said to believe it or not, it was up to the CEO. Deluxe Line said it was authentic, and their candidate confirmed it, so there was no reason to hesitate. And they would make a rebuttal statement first, then send the bag to the manufacturer to be accurate. Soo-hyun's mother came to her grandson's school because Seo-jun fought with his friend. The teacher explained that he seemed to be teasing Seo-jun and hurting his self-esteem. On the way home, his grandmother asked why Seo-jun actually hit his friend. Because her grandson didn't answer, his grandmother wanted to ask Baeol, but Seo-jun forbade her. His grandmother felt that Seo-jun was embarrassed by Baeol, and then his grandmother asked Baeol to go to her uncle's book cafe while they talked together. Jiun saw Baeol in front of the book cafe, who was looking at a kitten alone. Seeing the kitten alone, Baeol felt that maybe her mother had also left her. Jiun knew that it was because Baeol's mother left her, and Jiun said that her mother died when she was young and there was only her father. Jiun didn't know if Baeol would understand this, but love is about quality, not quantity. Two parents don't mean being loved twice as much. One person who loves you unconditionally is enough. Suddenly the cat ran away and Baeol chased after it. At that time Jiun shouted her name. Seojun's grandmother wanted to pick her up at the book cafe, but Baeol wasn't there. His grandmother was shocked even though she had escorted her to the door a while ago. Then her uncle looked for her and his grandmother called Eun-ho. It turned out that Eun-ho didn't pick up the phone. He was looking at an article about luxury seller publishing another article for rebuttal. They still insisted that it was fake. It seemed like they were deliberately exaggerating this, because they were creating competition. And at that time Eun-ho wanted to call Mrs. Cho, and at that time he knew that there was a missed call. Suddenly, Soo-hyun called and reported that Baeol was not found at the book cafe, and Eun-ho panicked and immediately rushed to look for his daughter. While in the car, Jiun called Eun-ho and told him that Baeol was with her. Hearing that, Eun-ho immediately wanted to approach her. It turned out that Baeol was taken to the hospital because while chasing a cat, she hit a bicycle in front of the book cafe. But her injury was not serious and Baeol asked her father not to worry. At that time she found out that Baeol often met Jiun at the book cafe. Eun-ho thanked Jiun and Jiun told her to come in because Baeol was waiting for him. Jiun told him not to think about the current office problems and just focus on his daughter. Jiun came back to the hospital with porridge for Eun-ho. Actually, Eun-ho wasn't sure if he had done well for his daughter, but sometimes he seemed to have reached a dead end. Jiun felt that Eun-ho had done his best because he always by Baeol's side when she needed Eun-ho. Jiun was sure Baeol knew that her father tried, so Eun-ho had to always accompany her. At that time Soo-hyun came and saw Jiun with Eun-ho. Then Eun-ho introduced Jiun to Soo-hyun. When she saw Jiun, Soo-hyun felt jealous.
정 작가.
The office was busy discussing the article from Korea Way about Deluxe Line failing to recruit an assessor. They felt that Korea Way's argument was only based on the assessor's background, and this was not beneficial for Deluxe Line. Then many content creators who were famous for luxury goods content also got involved in this war. They did their own assessment and they said that everyone said that it was fake. Seeing the news that cornered them made Jiun worried and she took Eun-ho to Mrs. Cho's shop. They looked for Mrs. Cho, but it seemed like she was out. Then her daughter came to see them. She didn't expect the problem to be so serious. She was worried what if her mother's assessment was wrong, would her mother be responsible? Jiun explained that the assessment results would not harm Mrs. Cho, but the job offer may be cancelled. A few days ago, Joo-hee told her mother to quit her job because she didn't want to see her suffer anymore. Then Eun-ho said has Joo-hee ever asked her mother why she keeps doing this job? She told Eun-ho that she enjoys working. When she smells skin she likes it. Eun-ho feels that she doesn't work just to make money. She is very proud of her job. Hearing that, Joo-hee cried because she regretted telling her mother to quit her job. And then Mrs. Cho came and she said she wouldn't take the job. She didn't think it was this serious. She didn't want to take responsibility for it. They should stop here before the situation gets worse. If that's true, who would believe her? Then Joo-hee said that she believes her mother. If her mother says it's real, then it's real. Her mother only works to protect people's memories. She studies every day, thinking of new materials all her life. In any field, they can trust someone like her. Joo-hee guarantees that. How can her mother not believe in herself? Her mother is amazing. Joo-hee tells her to do whatever her mother wants. Then Ji-yoon asks her to make her choice.
사장님이 선택하세요.
Finally, the official assessment results have arrived and CEO Jin opened the documents. It turned out that the bag was genuine. Hearing that, Mrs. Cho was relieved and CEO Jin immediately knelt down in front of Mrs. Cho. He felt that Mrs. Cho had saved him and he hoped to work with Mrs. Cho. Hyejin from Korea Way was disappointed with her staff. People's found a better candidate than Korea Way. Because of her staff, Korea Way lost its position in the online shopping field. If Hyejin could, Hyejin would make him unable to work in this field anymore, but Hyejin wanted him to show something that exceeded her expectations. Mrs. Cho thanked Ji-yoon and Eun-ho for being trusted. Then she gave Ji-yoon a special business card holder made by Mrs. Cho that was better than any luxury brand. And Eun-ho was given tickets to a show organized by her daughter. She wanted her mother said that she was grateful to Ji-yoon and also Eun-ho. Because there were 2 tickets, Eun-ho invited Ji-yoon to join him by watching the show.
와, 진짜.
Ji-yoon wondered how she could sleep soundly while sleeping on Eun-ho's sofa. Then she looked at the same sofa as Eun-ho's and suddenly she dialed Eun-ho's number. Ji-yoon was surprised when Eun-ho called her back. Ji-yoon gave the excuse that she accidentally called him while sleeping. Then she asked what model of sofa it was. Actually Ji-yoon had trouble sleeping because she was sensitive. And at that time, she could fall asleep. Maybe it was because of the sofa. Eun-ho was going to check it and tell Ji-yoon. But how come Ji-yoon couldn't sleep? Then Eun-ho suggested drinking warm milk, but not everyone had milk at home. And Eun-ho wanted to read a book to Ji-yoon because it always worked on bio. Ji-yoon thought she was like a kid. Ji-yoon would find her own solution and end the call. They said good night to each other. And Eun-ho hoped Ji-yoon didn't have a bad dream. Eun-ho gave Ji-yoon a message that he would catch up with her after the meeting. And Ji-yoon told him to stay focused on her meeting. Ji-yoon did her office work and was shocked when she saw the clock. She immediately rushed off. It turned out that she had arrived at a piano recital where Mrs. Cho had previously given Eun-ho 2 tickets. She sat in the park while waiting for Eun-ho until she saw Eun-ho walking in the crowd. Finally, Eun-ho saw her and they looked at each other. Eun-ho approached her and Ji-yoon gave him a coffee.